So we were talking about um, SUNY Maritime, and we have the Maritime mug. But if we go step back a little bit, we always knew that Matt was going to go into music, right?
Yes.
Right? We knew one way or the other.
Had to be. We know
And
that.
he just loved marching band, so that was a given. But Peter, I vividly remember, Peter wasn't sure what he wanted to do. Now, he always liked to build boats and at the lake and then blow them up or break them up at the end of the summer. But I remember sending him down to the basement and logging onto the internet to research careers. And I would just say, go downstairs and figure out what you want to do. And one time he came up and he finally said, I want to be a naval architect. And you made a comment saying they've been building boats for thousands of years. Why do you think you're going to do something new, right?
That was not nice of me. I just didn't think of it. I don't know.
Well, it was a new concept to us.
Yeah.
So with Matt, I think you went to multiple places to visit colleges, right?
To the what?
Multiple colleges to visit before
Yes.
he graduated. I think you went out to Rochester, Eastman School of Music.
That's ringing a bell.
Yeah, and I remember that Matt made some kind of a comment about because you went into the bookstore in the freshman.
Yes, you're right.
And he made some kind of comment that he had read all of those books in high school.
Absolutely.
So why would they be...
He was really pissed, and he said, why should I bother with this?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, that rings a bell all the time for me. Like, we figured this out, and he was, we weren't about to get underneath that. No.
So then you went out to U of M.
Yep.
And they had, the phenomenal program at U of M. But there was something about the way they marched.
Okay, wait a minute. Which U of M are you talking
University of Michigan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ann Arbor. There was something about the way they marched and how he thought that it would just destroy his chops.
Oh,
because they were doing
interesting.
these high stepping or something crazy like that.
Well, I'll just to comment on the woman who ran that little office there, and I think she had a good sense of how something like that would happen because he was far above what he would do, right, and that sort of thing. And I think they were taking in students that didn't have backgrounds and anything like that. So, she was she realized that, and she was very helpful about everything.
But I think the other comment that, if I vaguely recall this, she brought Matt over to the window in her office, looking down at the parking lot, and there was like a Porsche in the parking lot, and she said something to the effect of, if you're going to be a music educator, you're never going to be able to afford a car like that.
You got it. I remember it. Yes.
But, the final place. Oh, you went to Florida, too, with Matt, didn't you?
I don't remember
Yeah,
Florida.
yeah.
I'm not going to say it didn't happen.
You went all the way to Florida to look at a college.
Wow. I'll have to check it with him and see. I'm sure he probably remembers, but I don't remember.
And I don't recall what happened with that, but just as well. Florida's a bunch of Republicans. But then, of course, there was George Parks and Amherst.
Oh, George Parks. George Parks was in Michigan, right?
No, Amherst, University of Massachusetts.
Okay, all right.
Who really wanted Matt to go to school there.
don't talk about it. So sad. I never felt worse at something like that. And, the timing of everything that he did for so many students and everything, and then to have that happen at the last minute.
But there was.
I'm over it, don't worry. But, it was a hard, hard thing. I cried and cried and cried.
But I think when Matt was a junior or a senior, there was UMass Band Day, all right, where the high schools go to Amherst and they perform and compete.
Yes.
And there was a comment, and I think we had a tape of it, where George Parks says, after Matt does his solo, he says, get that boy in a Minuteman uniform. I want him on my squad, or something to that effect. It was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And the trumpet tutor, Matt's advisor, I can't remember his name. I think he's passed as well. He was in a wheelchair.
Yep.
But he was an excellent mentor to Matt. I remember that he said to Matt that he needed to get a good trumpet.
Oh, that was the beginning of, you got to have one of those kind of things.
So we drove to New York City, and we went to this little place.
Yes. I remember.
Right?
I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we went to a place where the musicians for the Broadway shows go, where all that.
Wasn't that something? Yes.
Yeah. And then we called him. Can't remember his name. Matt will remember. Matt's trumpet tutor. And,
yeah, I can too, but I'm kind of not.
And we asked his advice.
Yes.
About the horn that we were looking at. Because it wasn't cheap. It was like $7,000 for this trumpet.
That I didn't know. I don't think I need to know that. Holy cow.
So, that was Matt. Then there was Pete.
Not quite the same.
So Pete decided he's going to be a naval architect, right?
Yeah.
And so we went online and we looked at the places in North America that offered degrees in naval architecture. And unfortunately, there was not a state school in Massachusetts that did that. So let's see. He interviewed at the Coast Guard Academy. And I drove with him, I think in the Del Sol, down to wherever it was, Connecticut or Rhode Island or someplace. And we had a fun drive. And they put him up in one of the commandant's quarters or something. But we practiced on the way that, if you're going to be in a regimented program, you have to be able to respond and memorize things and go, sir, yes, sir, kind of stuff. And sure as hell, he was accepted there. And then there was the Webb Institute on Long Island, which had no tuition. But they only taught naval architecture. That was it. That was the only major they had. And it was in a single building. I think you went with him. I don't recall.
I probably did, but I'm not. I'm not.
But the interesting thing was that so you weren't expected to pay tuition, but after you graduated, you were expected to contribute to the school.
Yeah, that was not unusual.
Well, unusual to me, but whatever.
Yeah, but when you got into something like that, they wanted.
So there was something to that effect, but I think there were two problems. Oh, wait a minute. We also went to Canada. We went to Newfoundland, and
Now you're talking. I don't
We
recall
went
that.
we looked at the only other regional college around that had naval architecture. So we drove to Maine. We took the fast ferry with the car over to Nova Scotia. We drove across Nova Scotia.
What was I doing? It's just that I forgot. Right?
Yeah, you just forgot. We drove all the way across. We drove all the way across Nova Scotia. We got on another ferry, which was like a, I don't know, 11 or 17-hour ferry from Nova Scotia to Newfoundland.
Yes.
And then we had to drive across Newfoundland to get to St. John's, Newfoundland. I think it was Memorial College. But they seem to have an incredible program. And we actually visited, so we went to one restaurant, and the proprietor was encouraging Peter to come to school here.
Yes.
And
yeah, that became quite amazing.
And the lady in the restaurant said, "If your son comes here, we're going to take good care of him.
Yeah.
He's never going to go out of my restaurant hungry."
I remember that.
Yeah.
That I remember very well. Yes. Yeah, that was quite a push and shove that we did. I mean, just said, we're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. And they, and he came through, and it was exciting that he would do something like that.
But the other thing that was interesting up there was they had, instead of a wave tank, they had an ice tank where they tested different models for structures or in ships going through ice flows and stuff, which was sort of cool. It was actually very cool. It was cold in there, so that was a lot of fun. But then he decided to go to SUNY Maritime, which was interesting because when we went down to visit SUNY Maritime in the Bronx, there was, I think it was their commencement or convocation of some kind, and we walked past where that was in the middle of their quad, and the speaker mentioned that, do you know something about where most of the naval architects and marine engineers work after they get out of SUNY Maritime? And it was for General Electric, which was like, what? Because at the time,
that was it.
GE was doing a lot of nuclear engineering and power plant stuff. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, so then in the interim, we moved to California.
Yes.
So what we had to do was pay Peter's out-of-state tuition.
I don't remember that.
Oh yes, I remember that because
he
he had 2 free rides, and he decided that
California.
He decided that he wanted to go to SUNY Maritime, which we'd have to pay out-of-state tuition, which was not cheap even in those days. So, but he did well there, and I'm glad he had some good extracurricular stuff that he did.
Well, I'm just grateful for you and anybody else that just jumped on the bandwagon. How many families can count on someone that was somebody who they knew and everything, but that would really get into it?
Yeah.
The way that we did. Yeah.
So, it was good to remember some of those things.
Yes, it is very much so.
And the other thing was, when Peter was at SUNY Maritime, he did an internship at Northrop Grumman.
Yes.
And in
That's where it all started.
Pascagoula, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And I drove down with him to Pascagoula, Mississippi, to help him find an apartment, short-term thing for the summer while he was doing his internship. And it was so hot. It was so damn hot. I mean, it was just hot, humid, and we ended up going to some stores, and we got like inflatable furniture. Inflatable furniture or cardboard furniture or something
You're
crazy.
going to remind him of this?
Yeah, I'm recording it.
Oh, okay.
And I think we would spend like a half a day shopping, and then we'd sit the rest of the day in the swimming pool because it was like too hot. So when that internship was over, your mother gave Peter. Oh, in the meantime, Peter had crashed the Ark on I-95 in Connecticut coming home for Thanksgiving. So he totaled that car. Luckily, he didn't get hurt. But subsequent to that, after the internship or during it, your mother gave Peter her car. It was an old Dodge K car.
Mm-hmm.
So I think somehow he flew to Detroit and got the car, or flew up to Warren, got the car and brought it back. So then at the end of his internship, we had to drive back and put some of his stuff in storage up in New York City. So that was a drive from Pascagoula, Mississippi to New York City. But the air conditioning in your mother's car didn't work.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be, yeah.
So
that couldn't happen. I mean, they couldn't let that happen.
So we're driving back, I think the end of August, beginning of September, and it was hot. It was incredibly hot.
Yes.
And the air conditioning didn't work in the car. And so we put the windows down and drive fast, except during thunderstorms.
Yes.
And there were a number of those that we had to put the windows up, and we just were stifling in the car. So, but we got everything up to New York City. I don't know whatever happened to your mom's little car, but in any event, so that's the memories of colleges with
Yes.
Matt and Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Good memories.
Yes.
I should probably send this to